morning. Welcome to another edition of Bunker Office Hours, a weekly live show brought to you by the team at Bunker Labs. I'm joined today by my co-hosts, Amy Morrison and Carrie Sue. Amy and Carrie, what is going on, y'all?
Howdy.
Hey there, good to see you.
So typically we have guests on this platform, but today we're going to do a little internal because I just got back from an amazing conference out in San Francisco, the military veteran startup conference. Such a great time. But before we get into that today, Amy and Carrie, is there any updates we need to pass around the bunker?
Sure. I will start. We've got the USAA 100th anniversary pitch contest applications are open still for the Austin event. Those applications are open through February 14th, Valentine's Day, easy to remember. And the link is up on the screen. And then we are also helping out Mill Money Conference is looking for speaker submissions, and that is open through February 12th. So sign up to be a speaker there if you know anything about money. And then I think that's it, other than the Year of the Small Business, which Carrie knows a little bit more about, so she's going to tell us about that.
Yeah, this is exciting. We just kind of got the collateral for this today, but Hello Alice is launching today their Year of the Small Business, and this is a year-long program for part of it is awareness of like people to shop small businesses and really elevate small businesses this year. But there's going to be an element of learning and workshopping for small businesses as well. And then there will be some sort of like corporate giving options as well. So the URL is there at the bottom. There's kind of tiers for really any person or organization to also join the Year of the Small Business movement. And we are hoping to get someone on from Hello Alice to talk more extensively about it in the upcoming few weeks, so that you all can know more about it and how you can engage and be a part of this movement as well.
How did you first find out about this Hello Alice opportunity?
They reached out to us because, with the work we do with veterans and entrepreneurs in general, it was a good fit. And so they just sent us all the stuff last night for their launch this morning. And so it's going to be really cool just to kind of see how this evolves over this year, and, where individual small business owners, shoppers, small businesses, and then larger organizations can help out with this movement as well.
Yeah, y'all got to take advantage of these programs. Renee Bob, who runs Breaking Barriers Entrepreneurship Workshop Series, she's always sharing how many grants a lot of the Bunker Lab entrepreneurs are winning. And I've seen Hello Alice as one of the organizations that pops up, as well as a lot of others. And so for those of you that are tuning in that need capital, these are great opportunities to start getting in. And the other thing too is, let's say it's a program that doesn't necessarily provide capital per se. Still, when you join these programs, you have access to mentors, connections, and networks. And that's one of the things that a lot of veterans and military spouses struggle with, is how do you build a network? How do you build a network in the entrepreneurial space? And so this is a great way to do it with even just outside of the veteran community. So Donnell, go ahead.
Yeah, the cool thing about Hello Alice is that you can you go in and you set up a profile, and their goal for this campaign for this year is to raise $30 million in capital. So they are interested in funding these small businesses. And the cool thing about it is you kind of have your profile, and then as grant opportunities come up that you would be a good fit for, you're notified and you can apply. So, this is a really great opportunity for individuals and small businesses looking for funding to really take advantage of that.
Love it. All right. So today we're going to be talking about this Military Vet Startup Conference. But before we do that, for those of you that are tuning in live, shout out to Hector Cruz and Donnell Jones. We'll make sure we get the link for Hello Alice to you. But while we're talking today about the conference, if you have any questions regarding anything entrepreneurship related, Bunker Labs related, please feel free to go ahead and drop those questions into the chat, and we'll try our best between the three of us to answer them live on air. So we want to make this an engaging conversation. And again, feel free to ask what you want. This is why we do office hours. It's a great way to get out in front of the community, feel like you can reach out and touch us. And, we got a lot of content. We got a lot of programs going. So this is your opportunity to ask questions. So I'll tell y'all, I usually don't go to conferences, right? But we're coming off this like 2-year haze from COVID and everything. And, you know, I saw this pop up from one of our Bunker Lab entrepreneurs, Brendan Aronson from Paint True, that we've seen at a couple competitions and it's come on the platforms and everything. And I decided to travel out to SF and go to the conference. And let me tell y'all, it's one thing to kind of be engaged with people over the years online and on social media, or even have them on a podcast. It's an entirely different experience to get out there and meet people in person. And I feel like even on the marketing team, right, whenever we, you know, go to do these offsites, you kind of feel the connection, because I felt like, you know, Amy and Carrie, like we were working together for almost like a year and a half before we had opportunity to come together out in Denver. And there was just this energy at the conference that was just so amazing, like uplifting. And like, I'm really glad I went. And I feel like, I don't know, man, it was just good for the soul and good for, you know, me as like an entrepreneur. And so when these kind of opportunities are popping up, man, I really encourage people to get out there and start to see people.
How many people would you say were there?
I think there were probably around or just over 200 entrepreneurs. Okay. And, you know, from all over the country, people were flying in from Utah and everything. First night we got there, Bunker Labs hosted just kind of like a little a meetup at a California Pizza Kitchen. So it was a great way the night before just kind of get together and meet everyone. And then the next day they had the conference at the Marine, I forgot the center, but it was like Marine Memorials Club.
Memorial Club, yeah.
Yeah, and it was beautiful. I mean, straight up red carpet treatment. We had bags, we had goodies. And then it was basically a day of different panels. You know, we had veterans of venture capital. We had what was it? Not necessarily small business, but like consumer facing products, you know, people that are going B2C. There was panels on nonprofits in the veteran space, like VSOs, fundraising. I mean, it was just amazing. It was very, very well done.
Yeah, the website doesn't say much about what was going to be there. It looked like it was a lot of like VC focused. I don't know if the panels were VC focused, but their website seems to be like VC focused. So
yeah, one of the things is it definitely had a more startup focus, and mainly being out in SF. And the founder of Milvet, Tom Shea, I'm probably butchering his name. I'm like drawing a blank, y'all. I create so much content. I forget names and I forget stuff, and I gotta like write stuff down. But no, it was very startup focused. But that's one of the things that we try to balance here at Bunker, is making sure we're giving attention to, you know, the small business entrepreneurs, the solopreneurs out there, as well as those of you trying to build, you know, tech platforms, etc. But the reason I wanted to go out there is because as the host of the Transition Podcast, it's important for me to keep my ears to the dirt and know what's going on in the community. So that way, as I'm interviewing entrepreneurs and as we're creating this kind of content, where do we know to send people to? And there's a lot of firms out there that are veteran focused. You know, Hybrids and Strivers was one. They're out of the DC area. You've got the Academy Investor Network. You have, I think there's a fund, Veterans of Venture Capital. Who else was out there? There's quite a bit of few. So I'll check the website and try to push more information out to people on the different content platforms. But it was good. Hector Cruz says, where do we know when conferences are happening? Honestly, it comes from just being in the community. So again, it wasn't like I you know, sometimes you'll see stuff pop up on social, the people that you tend to follow. So if there's an entrepreneur that you're looking up to, or entrepreneurs like myself in the space, you know, follow our content, engage our content. And that's why it's on us as a community to pass this information along, because we can't assume people know about these opportunities. And it was as simple as someone in my network forwarded me an email saying, hey, check this out. And then I had another one in my network send me an email too. And again, I very rarely ever like go to a conference, but just the fact that it kind of came by, it was like the right time. I was like, oh, let me go check this out. Tynell Jones says, I need to be on your show, Iron Mike, Veterans Growing America. You got to check out your company. Maybe come on office hours first and talk about what you do. And then, you know, we'll see if we can potentially get you on the podcast. You know, one of the reasons we do this platform too, is to make it an opportunity to highlight you all out there.
And Donnell, he's in our current veterans residence, I believe, maybe Tampa. Donnell.
Yeah, that's what he said. He says
Yeah.
he's in the he says he's in the VIR.
We can share the Carrie. I don't know if you have it, the interest form for.
I will. Yeah.
Yeah, we can share that. Looking at this conference, the panels and the guests and attendees and stuff. There's so many bunker community people, like former city leaders, people who've been in VIR, like so many bunker related people here. Yeah,
it was also cool because they had obviously one of our sponsors for CEO Circle, JP Morgan and Chase, right? They had a panel with them there talking about some of the different opportunities in banking. There was a lot of questions from the startup community about what banks they should go with, what they should be looking for, et cetera. And so they had a panel to kind of address that. And I know for me, right, like even on the banking side of the house, finding someone that's a lot more personal. Sometimes banks can make you feel like second-class citizens, so it's great for us as veterans and military spouses to know where to go and where's a good fit. I know a lot of people keep asking about the conference. This conference was like the first year of this. So this was the first time they did it. Shout out to Tim Shea for hosting it. He was the leader behind it, big veteran entrepreneurial champion, also runs Services School as well as a couple other ventures. And he has Context Ventures, which is a venture capital firm that's invested in veterans. And I will tell y'all, the first night he said, who's here looking to raise capital? And all the hands kind of went up in the air. And then it was like, okay, who here is willing to, who's a venture capitalist or who's cutting checks? Hands went in the air. So you also had angel investors there. You had venture capitalists there. So again, it was just an opportunity to get people in the room. But this year is done with. But next year, right, I'm going to imagine it's going to be bigger and better because this is just the first year of it. And that's why I wanted to go out.
We also have, so coming up in October of this year, there is the Military Influencer Conference.
That's right.
And this was originally hosted by someone in our ecosystem for a long time. And I believe it was just purchased by another military organization, but it's been postponed the past couple of years in person. This is the first year it's going to be, live. So I'm going to put that link here for those that are interested in it. It'd be a really great way to, at least start planning your conference strategy for this year.
Vegas.
And the other thing too is like, so I'm not much of a business card person, but I hit up my admin and I was like, hey, can you get me some business cards ready to go when I went out there? And, start passing around cards, man. You start talking to people, right? The power of these conferences isn't just the programming. It's like the side conversations that you're having with people, just being able to chop it up, find people in your industry, in your niche. And I describe it as like peer-to-peer learning. And y'all, this was one of the most powerful things for me for the conference was as veterans and military spouses, we have a unique relationship with our tribe. So let's say I go to some San Francisco startup conference and there's 10,000 people there, et cetera. And let's say Elon Musk is like one of the speakers. He's probably not going to make time and day for me to speak with me, right? You know how they speak and then they come off stage and then everyone's kind of chasing them around. Well, out here, we had the founder of TRX. And as you all know, the TRX band's a big, it's a big brand, one of the most successful ones within the veteran space. And I got to talk to the founder for like 25 minutes, and he's agreed to come on one of my podcasts. It's like, where else can I get that kind of relationship and that kind of experience? And you get those at these conferences, particularly for us by our tribe. And right now we're dropping a bunch of links in the chat. Yeah, the Military Vet Startup Conference is over, but you got the Military Money Conference coming up. That's going to be in North Carolina. Like you said, we've got the Military Influencer Conference coming up. So there's a lot of opportunities for people to get out there and engage with the community.
And shameless plug, we do promote a lot of these conferences in our newsletter. So if you want to sign up for our newsletter, Bunker Labs newsletter, we promote them throughout the year too.
One of the things with passing this information along, right? Like, again, people say, where do we find out about this stuff? Amy just told you, sign up for the Bunker Labs newsletter. It's there. Are you following us on social media? Are you engaging the content? Because this stuff is out there. And again, it's on all of us to make sure that information gets out. So one one thing I want to know from Carrie and Amy is, what do you think makes a good conference?
Oh, I only go to marketing conferences, which I haven't gone in. I used to go to the HubSpot one, the HubSpot. What's it called, Carrie?
Inbound.
That's a great one.
Is it
Inbound,
like Inbound or something?
Yeah, I went to like Inbound for like 5 years. And those are good. Those were always fun. I personally like anything where I can like go to sessions and learn like tactical how to like, so that when I leave and I go home, I can like just hit the ground running, like, doing stuff. That's what I look for mainly. I don't care so much about like fancy speakers. Like I think Michelle Obama spoke at one of the Inbounds, which was great, but like that's not why I went.
Somebody said, Bob Abbott says, this is a Zoom call and the chat there is what they're referencing, not here on LinkedIn. That's unfortunate.
Are the links not populating in LinkedIn? I haven't checked.
We'll get the links out. I won't worry about that, Bob. Again, if you're following the accounts, we'll make sure we get those links out. Yeah. So let me ask you this, Amy. Do you feel like when you go to conferences, you walk away with something?
Yeah, I have in the past. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, they tend to be expensive. You got to go somewhere. Usually you got to go like fly somewhere. You got to invest in the tickets and stuff like that. So yeah, if I don't come away from it with like actionable, like, to-dos or whatever knowledge, it's kind of like pointless to me. But I'm also kind of not necessarily, like I said, I'm not necessarily going to conferences for like inspiration, which is like no shade on anyone who is, because like that's what they, conferences are kind of like a mix, I feel, of the inspirational stuff and the tactical stuff and like things in between, and also like the connecting with other people. But again, not really why I go either. But in the past, when I worked at my cousin's marketing agency, she was the one that was there for the connecting. She was there connecting with other marketing agency founders and doing that kind of thing. That wasn't necessarily my role. So I was just there for the knowledge.
It is.
Go ahead, Carrie.
It's helpful too to go with someone. I've done that a couple times with Inbound and content marketing world, because then you can kind of divide and conquer for the small breakout sessions and then get back together, at the happy hours or kind of after the event, and get together and chat through it. So it makes for, you're going with someone that feels kind of safe, but it also reinforces what you learned, because then you have to like talk about it and share it like in real time. So I feel like it's a really nice way just to enjoy the conferences, is with someone else as well.
Yeah, for me, it's like I'm starting to understand it. Like as we continue in this professional setting as like veteran business owners and military spouses, right? What does it mean to be a professional, right? Like keeping up to date with what's going on in your field, in your industry, what's happening in your community, not just coming up with stuff in a bubble. And what I felt like going out there, I felt like I'm very in tune with the opportunities that are available in the veteran entrepreneurial space. And now I feel more empowered to be an ambassador for these things, on the different platforms, whether it's Office Hours or the Transition Podcast. So again, I feel like these conferences are a good opportunity. And I'm a skeptic because, like Amy said, flying out there, buying a ticket. But when you know your tribe is going to be there, other people like you, right? And we're all spread out all over the country, Rochester, New York, Newark, New Jersey, Salt Lake City, Utah, whatever. It's just great to be able to come with people and learn from each other and just connect. Really, really powerful stuff. So again, I want to encourage people to take advantage of the upcoming conferences that we have coming up. And in the chat, let us know what you look for in a good conference, what you've walked away with. Now we're going to transition to one of my favorite parts of Office Hours, is book recommendations. Now, I don't know if Carrie and Amy got a book rec, but I have one, and it's Turning the Flywheel by Jim Collins. And this is like an amendum. Did I get it right? Is it amendum or amendum?
Addendum? Wait,
addendum.
What are you saying?
There we go. It's an add-on to Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, because he introduces this concept of a flywheel. And whenever you start a venture, right, it's like turning a giant, heavy flywheel. right? Like it takes forever to get momentum going. You know, it's just a slow drag. But a flywheel is basically how your business operates, like your business model operates, and how you keep it recession proof. You know, so like the top of your flywheel is like recession proof, and then it creates this momentum. And the better you get at it, the faster and faster you grow. So I'll give you an example. Let's say the top of your flywheel is like training and education. So everything you do, if you have like a marketing agency, everything you focus on is around educating people about the best marketing practices, etc., which leads to, you know, high quality warm leads coming to your business, which you're able to turn into consulting contracts, which you're able to turn in brand ambassadors, etc., which is going to allow you to invest more in training and education, etc. So you create this flywheel and it goes faster and faster. And one of the reasons that I'm reading the book is because I'm writing my own book, Black Veteran Entrepreneur. And one of the chapters I'm dedicating in the book is to the flywheel. So I'm like, if I'm going to be able to break this down, I need to do a little bit more research myself. And it's one thing to read these concepts, but it's another thing to try to convey them to an audience, right? And this is one of the things that's always a challenge on the podcast is like, hey, I know this stuff really well. I've read it, but how do I articulate it in a way that it makes sense to the audience? So check it out. Turning the Flywheel by Jim Collins, little addendum, and also his book, Good to Great. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Ladies, you got any book recommendations? It can even be a podcast or just something that you're listening to, YouTube video, etc.
I've got one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got one called Biology, and I read it over Christmas this past year. It is by Martin Lindstrom, and it goes through a lot of the data and psychology about why we buy things, and like so it's mixing the science with marketing. It's really fascinating, and he did a ton of neurological research over the past like 10 decades, or not 10 decades, the past decade, 10 years. And then compiled it together, and it's really fascinating. He's got a lot of like real life stories of companies that followed some of these, some of the data that was pulled out, and they were able to really turn their companies around. So this is the most recent one that I read that I thought was useful, and I'll drop that link into the chat as well.
I got to step my game up to Carrie's level, because I know you're always talking about reading more, like psychology books, and not just the standard business books, but really understanding like why people do things. So that's a great book. And I have the psychology book. I just haven't read it yet because it's like this thick, but I'm going to get to it. As we close out, I do want to answer a couple questions. Okay. So somebody asked, how do they know what conferences to stay away from and what organizations? Here's what I tell you. Anything we recommend to you all on here, on any of these platforms, right? I would like to think that they're highly vetted. So like, you'll never see me make a recommendation or Bunker make a recommendation for some conference that we think is going to just rob veterans or something like that, right? Like, I know the host of the Military Money Conference. She's done the financial workshop for Bunker Labs. She's got a whole course in Bunker Labs. What do we call it, a new platform? I don't want to butcher it.
I think it's still Bunker Online, no?
Bunker Online, right? So again, anything we recommend on here is vetted. Katrina Craig says she feels like she's in a bubble over planning and getting psyched out. When do you know it's time to launch? I will tell you this, sooner rather than later. So I have this saying, business is a contact sport, right? Because I'm a boxer, and you don't know what you don't know. All right. And a lot of times, like, you can be that guy hitting the heavy bag and thinking you're good. Then you get in the ring and start sparring, and you realize, man, I need to work on my jab. I need to work on this. I need to work on that. But you would never know that stuff if you didn't get in the ring and start sparring. So start launching sooner rather than later and get that market-based feedback. Find out what's working, what's not working. And like Reggie said, get people buying, right? When people are ready to buy, your launch, and then just go and refine and refine and refine. So I think that's it for today, y'all. Any closing words for our listeners? Anything they need to be aware of before we break off here today?
We can talk about LaunchLab Online and Bunker Online. So we have migrated from a platform that was built a couple years ago to Mighty Networks. And so this is a really much more intuitive, faster comprehensive platform, community platform that we have, a virtual platform. So if you are looking for some of those like virtual connections, join us. You can go to our website and click the Bunker Online button, and that will take you into the virtual community. We've got groups by cities, groups by interests, groups by industries. And so you can really connect with individuals around the US, depending on what your interest is. So I'll pop that link in the chat as well for you all.
Love it. All right, y'all. Hope y'all have a great week. Make sure you're checking out the Transition Podcast. I have a newsletter for it too. It goes out every week where I share the latest episode of Transition. I got some really, really dope interviews that are releasing. On Thursday, you're going to be learning from Renee Bob. Renee runs the Breaking Barriers and Entrepreneurship Workshop series here at Bunker. Next week, you'll hear from Manuel Godaboy, founder of Black Sands Entertainment that just was on Shark Tank and won like a $500K investment. So you got a lot of really, really great content coming your way. And for those of you that are tuning in and you're asking yourself, you're psyched out, you don't know what to do, go listen to some of the back catalog. I got the 5 stages of small business growth. There's an episode on how to acquire your first 100 customers. There's an episode on advice for launching a new venture. So you don't have to go at it alone. We're here and we're pushing out content to support you on your entrepreneurial journey. I got to give a shout out to our virtual event sponsors for today, the Garnet Foundation and the MetLife Foundation. The MetLife Foundation is committed to supporting veteran and military spouse entrepreneurs. In addition, they provide mentorship and financial health resources to veterans and military spouses transitioning into the workforce. And the Gannett Foundation funds A Community Thrives, a program that's part of the USA Today network, which invests in community building initiatives across the country with the goal of creating positive change through service to historically marginalized or under-resourced groups. The only reason we're able to have these amazing platforms for you all out there is thanks to our amazing virtual event sponsors. So Gannett and MetLife, we truly appreciate you. Make sure y'all are checking out bunkerlabs.org, signing up for all the amazing programs that we're pushing out to y'all. We're here to support the veteran and military spouse entrepreneur ecosystem. Engage with our content, follow us on social medias, and reach out if you need anything. Until next week, everyone, peace, love. Have a great rest of your week.